Good morning everybody, welcome back to cilinixfxcapital. Hope you're all doing great and welcome to this new video right here on XRP. We're going to do a full update on XRP right here. We'll talk about yesterday, which to be fair, what I said yesterday has happened, and what is going on right now, in my opinion, is well, not in my opinion. If you watched my video yesterday, you would have been completely prepared for everything that's going on right now. And my thoughts are still pretty similar, although I must say that when we're talking about those fundamentals, those bloody fundamentals we have to talk about every time, those are not amazing. And we'll talk about that in a moment, and I'll tell you why I think they're not looking amazing, and I'll also tell you the implications of that. What could that mean for XRP, which overall has held up relatively well. Yesterday morning, obviously, or I should say Wednesday, but yesterday morning, that was the culmination point of that. We pushed up nicely, we reclaimed the range right here at 2.25, at 2.2, so that was great news. We rallied into the point of control, found resistance there, which was to be expected. There was a very strong resistance level. And even though we had enough momentum to reclaim back into the range, in no shape or form did we have enough momentum to break above that as well. So we pulled back from that. This is the exact drawing that I drew yesterday. I said, okay, we're going to drop down at least into the yearly rolling VWAP at 2.25. I would have expected a little bit more support there. To be fair, you can see there was some minimal support, but that is all it was. It was minimal support. And then if we got some bad news, if the fundamentals worsened, which they have, and I'll show you in a moment, we could still push down lower into 2.2 and 2.15 potentially, but from there I would expect support, and I would expect us to reclaim back into that range at 2.25 and to rally back up to the point of control at 2.4. And I still do expect that, although I slightly have to adjust my downside prediction, okay? Because what we're seeing right now is, first of all, a very weak reaction at 2.25. That is, well, what we see right now. That is what we have seen in the last 24 hours. Technically, that's a bearish confirmation. It's just bearish, right? I mean, if you have a very clear support level, and that has also supported the price historically, and you don't get any reaction at that, that's bad news. And then outside of that, I think the volume and the momentum that we saw earlier this week on Tuesday and Wednesday when we tried to recover, that volume is decreasing quite significantly, which means that there's less momentum specifically for XRP, which is potentially flowing into some other assets which are doing much better at this point of time. So that's not great. And then outside of that, like I said, the fundamentals at this point of time have not improved. They've actually gotten worse. If you look at the volatility index, this doesn't have to do, by the way, with the liquidity crisis, but ultimately there are still several other factors which are negatively influencing the general financial markets, and therefore also crypto, indirectly or directly, but it's multiple ones, right? So it's not one thing we can point at and say, okay, we have to keep an eye on that. Once that is solved, such as the US government shutdown, then it's all good. Now, there's multiple things going on, and that is in general increasing the uncertainty and the volatility of the financial markets, and that's pushing risky assets lower. I mean, if you look at the Russell 2000, this is the first time we have gotten into a downtrend since April. So that's bad news, right? So therefore, that is a significant, I would argue, decline of the fundamentals yesterday. So therefore I would say it is likely or to be expected that XRP is still going to push down lower into 2.15 and 2.1. Now, do I expect us to make a lower low right here? So the low at this point of time, at least on Binance, sits at $2.06. Do I expect that? For now, no, but it is something you need to take into account, that it is a possibility, depending on the fundamentals. For now, I would say it's most likely we'll push down here, find support, and then it will take a little bit longer probably to reclaim 2.25. And honestly, we are ultimately also very reliant on the development of the fundamentals to know when we are going to get that reclaim. So I'll keep you updated on that, but that is what I think you need to know for now. So thank you for watching, everybody. Have a great weekend in advance, and bye.